In breaking news coming in, a Varanasi court has rejected a plea for a scientific investigation of a purported Shivling that was found earlier this year in the Gyanvapi Mosque complex. The Varanasi court was hearing the plea on scientific investigation, including carbon dating of this purported Shivling that was found inside the mosque complex, and has now rejected the plea that was filed by 4 of the 5 Hindu women petitioners who had originally asked for permission to pray year-long inside in the shrine that is inside the mosque complex. Alok is joining us from the Varanasi court at this point. Alok, what are we hearing?
Well, as of now, Ankita, we only have this one-line order that has been told to us by the advocate who exited the court, and also by the Director General of Civil Cases, basically the lawyer who oversees the prosecution of such cases. So at the moment, the only thing we know is that the district judge, A.K. Vishwesh, has rejected the plea by the 4 Hindu women who wanted a scientific investigation of the purported Shivling that was found inside the Gyanvapi Mosque complex. And they wanted a scientific investigation, including by the carbon dating technique, to determine the age of that object. Now, as of now, the only thing that we know is that the judge has ruled that carbon dating will not happen. I'd like to draw your attention towards 2 or 3 interesting things as we await a detailed order by the judge. It will take some time. Now, originally, if you remember, Ankita, there were 5 women petitioners who filed the original case asking for year-long access to a shrine that's located in the western wall of the Gyanvapi Mosque complex. But interestingly, only 4 of them filed this scientific investigation / carbon dating plea, if you remember.
Yeah. All right, Sanket is also with us. Sanket,
yes.
Explain to us the significance now that the court
Ankita,
has rejected
it is important to know the reason why the court has taken this decision. In Varanasi, the court has decided that the Shivling's carbon dating plea is going to be rejected. Now, this was the basic prayer so that one could identify how old this structure is. But now, in its order, the logic that the court gives why it has rejected this plea is that, and this is in Hindi, I'll read it in Hindi and then we'll translate it in English. कोर्ट ने कहा कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने वजू खाने को सील रखने के आदेश दिए थे, किसी भी तरह के सर्वे से सुप्रीम कोर्ट के आदेश की अवहेलना होगी. This basically means that the Varanasi court has said that the Supreme Court ordered that the wazoo khana be sealed. The order was given by the Supreme Court, and any attempt to carry out a survey is going to be in contradiction with the Supreme Court order. And that is the logic that has been given why this plea has been rejected or has not been accepted. So there is no other, at least as of this moment, because we are just getting information which is trickling in. It is very clear that the Varanasi court feels that any survey right now is going to violate the Supreme Court order, and this is the ground on the basis of which this plea has been rejected.
Alok is also with us at this point. Alok, Sanket here getting us more details of this. Any more that you're hearing from lawyers there?
Yeah, I think we'll have to await sound bites from the lawyers and also a detailed judgment of the court. But what I can certainly say is that the one consideration that the judge had, and the last time also he asked for a clarification on that, was whether this case or this entire plea for a scientific investigation of the Shivling is actually part or can be part of this case or not. So that is something that is that the judge asked for clarification on. And he asked whether, because you see the Muslim side or the side of the mosque committee has been saying that you see this plea of the carbon dating of the purported Shivling is not maintainable, because the original petition by the petitioners is that you want year-long access to a shrine inside the mosque. So how does this then become part of the case? The second thing that the mosque committee said in court was that, look, the Supreme Court has said that you have to seal off that entire area where the purported Shivling was found. And if you are going to go inside and investigate that area or do any kind of scientific investigation there, then it tantamounts to, basically going against the grain of what the Supreme Court has said, that was decide the case first, and then we will decide what to do with the Shivling area, etc., purported Shivling area. So I think those are the considerations that the district judge would have had when he has decided when he has decided to actually go ahead and actually at the moment decline the plea of the Hindu women petitioners for this carbon dating.
Right. Sanket, what will this mean for the broader hearing in the case now? Are we seeing this as a temporary setback for the women petitioners, but, going ahead, what are the various scenarios?
Well, the original petition, this is actually a deviation from the original petition, and that hearing is still going on. The maintainability has happened on whether women should be allowed or people should be allowed to, pray all year long. So that hearing still stands. As Alok was just telling you, this was perhaps something on the sidelines, as it had nothing to do with the original petition. This is because in the survey that was initially conducted, the Hindu side basically spotted a structure which they said is purportedly a Shivling. And in that context, some of the petitioners moved the court saying that why don't we order a scientific investigation on whether this is a Shivling or not, and how old is this? And to that scientific investigation, the logic that the court today has given, which is a little away from the original petition, by the way, the logic that the court has given is that the entire Wazukhana has been sealed by the Supreme Court, by orders of the Supreme Court. So if we order a survey, it is going to be a violation of that Supreme Court order. This in no way affects the original hearing of the matter on whether people should be allowed to pray all year long inside that complex. We also will have to see what legally steps will be taken from here on. Of course, the petitioners have the option of appealing on this particular aspect, the point of carrying out a carbon dating and carrying out a scientific survey to determine the age of the purported Shivling.
Right.
This matter alone can be moved to a higher court also, but it will be interesting to see what the petitioners say or do right now.
I believe Alok is also with us. Alok?
Well, yes, I'll just add on to what Sanket was saying as we await the detailed order of the court about why it has actually rejected the Hindu petitioner's plea for carbon dating. So I just want to go ahead and just also recapitulate or just go back to what the original case was. So if you remember, last year in August 2021, 5 Hindu women had filed this plea before the Varanasi lower court, saying basically that they wanted year-long access to pray in the Ma Shringar Gauri shrine that is inside the Gyanvapi Mosque complex, in the western wall of the complex. At the same time, in the same petition, they also said that there are idols of Hindu gods and goddesses inside the mosque complex. Then things were dormant for a while. And then I believe in March or April, if I remember correctly, this year, 2022, the lower court in Varanasi actually ordered that a videographic survey of the Gyanvapi Mosque would take place. That videographic survey happened in May, and I remember covering that, wall-to-wall coverage on all channels, newspapers, and we all were here. Now, interestingly, after that survey was completed, a report in a sealed cover was supposed to be submitted to the lower court judge. However, that report was leaked by the lawyers for the Hindu petitioners, and that's when this entire issue over the Shivling, the purported Shivling, started. I'm just talking about this just to get our viewers up to sync with why this is important or what is actually happening. So then that report now says that there's a object that was found at the Wazu area, or the pond that is used for purification rituals inside the mosque complex. The Hindu petitioners call it a Shivling. The Muslim side, the respondents basically say that it is a fountain. Now, if you remember at that point of time when that videographic filming was taking place, the mosque committee approached the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court did not stay the case, but it instead transferred the case to Varanasi's senior most judge, which is District Judge A.K. Vishwesh, if you remember. Now, Mr. Vishwesh was first tasked, or he decided that his first task was to look at whether the main plea, this plea for year-long worship inside the mosque, was legally maintainable or not. Ye case aage chal sakta hai ki nahi. So he took his time, and on the 12th of September, he decided that the case was legally maintainable. So that's the main case. Now, after that, once it was decided that the main case is maintainable and proceedings started in his court, Mr. A.K. Vishwesh's court, then 4 of the 5 Hindu petitioners filed a separate plea saying that we want a scientific investigation of this object, which they say is a Shivling that was found inside the Gyanvapi Mosque complex. They said they wanted a scientific investigation with any method, including possibly a carbon dating method to determine the age of that object. Now they say that if that Shivling is ancient, or if a carbon dating technique or any other technique found that Shivling to be ancient, it would give a fillip to their case. The Mosque committee, it's important to also ponder over what the Mosque committee has been saying, you know. The Mosque committee has been arguing in court that number 1, what you are calling a Shivling is actually a fountain. So you cannot really do anything with it. And number 2, they are saying that if the main case is about year-long worship to a shrine inside the mosque, then why are you trying to carbon date the object or do anything? That's against the grain of the law, which says that you can't change the character of a place of worship. The third thing that they have been saying is that, look, the Supreme Court has said that that pond area, that entire area where that purported object or Shivling is, should be sealed. And the judge should first decide on the merits of the main case, and then only you can do something else. So it does appear that these considerations or these arguments by the Mosque committee have...
राडार पेनेट्रेटिंग के लिए आग्रह किए थे, उसको नहीं माना है और माननीय न्यायाधीश ने मानने से हमारे जो आर्ग्यू थे कि उसका कार्बन डेटिंग राडार पेनेट्रेटिंग हो, नहीं माने हैं और इसकी कापी मिलने के बाद अध्ययन करके हम माननीय न्यायालय के समक्ष अपनी
क्यों खारिज किया है?
सुनिए, माननीय न्यायाधीश महोदय ने स्पष्ट कर दिया कि किसी प्रकार से शिवलिंग 16 मई को जो प्रकट हुए हैं उसके साथ किसी प्रकार का अपमान न हो, कोई विरोधाभास न हो, तो उसको मानने के लिए न्यायालय में माननीय न्यायाधीश के समक्ष उन्होंने स्पष्ट कर दिया कि अभी कार्बन डेटिंग इत्यादि अब राडार पेनेट्रेटिंग की आवश्यकता नहीं है। अतः माननीय न्यायाधीश महोदय ने कहा कि इस विषय पर अब इस बात को यहीं समाप्त किया जाए और जो लोग इसमें 110 या 18 के तहत आए हुए हैं, पार्टी बन रहे हैं, पक्षकार बन रहे हैं, उनको माननीय न्यायाधीश महोदय सुन रहे हैं। तो आशान्वित है कि कापी मिलने के बाद विस्तृत अध्ययन करेंगे और फिर उच्च न्यायालयों का भी मार्ग प्रशस्त हमारे लिए होगा। निसंदेह हम उच्च न्यायालयों में भी अपनी बात रखेंगे, क्योंकि विज्ञान की कसौटी पर जीवन जिया जा सकता है। एएसआई के मामले पर माननीय न्यायाधीश महोदय ने कहा कि किसी प्रकार का आपका ऐसा दावा मजबूत नहीं बन रहा है जिसके नाते अभी वो आवश्यकता पड़े। जी हम लोग तो अति उत्साहित थे कि आज निर्णय हमारे पक्ष में आएगा और हमारी मनोवांछित कामनाएं पूर्ण होंगी, परंतु माननीय न्यायाधीश ने उसको ब्रेक लगाए हैं, तो उसकी कॉपी का अध्ययन करके पुनः हम इस बात को रखेंगे। जी जी जी
ये जो मसला आया किस नजर से आप देख रहे हैं अभी क्यों खारिज कर दिया? और कहां कोई है?
So you just heard one of the lawyers on behalf of the petitioners in this case who wanted a carbon dating of what the Hindu side claims is a Shivling. The court in its order has rejected this plea for a scientific research for carbon dating and checking on how old this structure is. And the reason and the logic that the court has given is that this entire Wazukhana or that area has been ordered sealed by the Supreme Court. And if any survey is ordered over there, then this is going to be a violation of the Supreme Court order. That's the logic which has been given by the court. The court says that this matter must end here, while the main petition, as Alok Pandey has been mentioning over and over again, continues to be heard. The Muslim side says that this had nothing to do with the main petition and thus it should not have been entertained. It'll be interesting to see what the next step is going to be. Alok, if you are still with us, do we know whether the Hindu petitioners are likely to move a higher court against this order?
Well, I'm still with you, very much so, Sanket. I think that would be a given. It would appear that at least 4 of the 5 Hindu women petitioners or their lawyers will move a higher court because they've been very adamant that they actually want this carbon dating. In fact, I remember just talk about what led to all of this, you know. It's interesting at one level. So last time around, on the 7th of October, if you remember, we all came here hoping that that order would be passed on the 7th of October. But the district judge at that point of time asked a very pertinent question of the 4 petitioners who wanted that carbon dating. He said that, you know, the main case is about year-long worship at a shrine inside the mosque complex. So how does this case or this plea fit into the main case? So Vishnu Shankar Jain, who is the lead advocate or the most high-profile advocate, so to say, for the petitioners, now he told me in an interview that, look, what I tried to tell the judge was that, see, in our original petition, we have mentioned that there are idols of Hindu gods and goddesses that are inside the mosque complex, and so that is why we feel that even the Shivling, when it was underwater and when it came into visibility, it has become a deity or from an invisible deity to a visible deity, and that's why we wanted to be part of the main prayer. That was his logic. And like I said, the lawyers for the mosque committee have been consistently arguing over the last some time that, look, this purported object that was found inside the Wazu area of the mosque complex was not a Shivling, it is a fountain. And their greater argument has been that, look, the Supreme Court has said that that entire area should be sealed off. And that area, in fact, was sealed by the orders of the lower court here, if I remember. And the Supreme Court said that status quo should be maintained. So they say that, boss, you know, how are you going to do a carbon dating? How are you going to do a scientific investigation? You have to enter the area, right? You have to tinker with it. I mean, there's something that you have to do physically in order to manage to do this, right? So that's something that they said goes against the grain of what the Supreme Court has said in the case. Their third argument was that, look, at the end of the day, your plea is about worshipping inside, and you are saying that you want to carbon date an object that has been found. So that again goes against the grain of the Places of Worship Act, because you are essentially trying to change the nature or trying to do something that may alter or change the nature of the place of worship, or at least proceeds towards doing that or something. So those were the main line of arguments that the mosque committee had in before the court. Like I said, I think it's prudent for all of us to wait for the judgment copy to come out so we know what exactly the judge is saying. You see, the lawyers do present a fair picture, but sometimes, you know, it is best to read the judgment. But I think this much we can certainly report with a lot of certainty, that the judge has rejected the scientific investigation or carbon dating plea by the 4 of the 5 Hindu women petitioners.